Okay. God. Anyway, I was in the middle of my video and I know this is only like 5 minutes long. But the podcast version says like 15 minutes. And so it didn't really show me that it was 5 minutes long. So anyway, I want to get back to this book right here. And it's called Little Legends. And it's about exceptional men in Black history. It's by Vashti Harrison. So on page 44 of this book, this is for educational purposes, just in case anybody gets upset about it, but it is for educational purposes. So I wanted to read about James Baldwin because I thought this was such an honest depiction of who he was. So writer activist, 1924 to 1987. When he was 14, James thought he would become a minister like his stepfather. James was already a great orator, giving sermons in front of congregations. However, he felt frustrated with the church. Around that time, James realized he was gay. The systemic racism and homophobia coming from an institution that was supposed to share messages of grace and love made him feel lost, disappointed, and alone. James left the church and focused on developing his writing skills. For a while, he worked odd jobs and was mentored by writers like Richard Wright and County Cullen. Eventually, James felt suffocated by racism and left the country. In 1948, he went to Paris, where he could live and work without fear. In 1953, he published his first novel, Go Tell It on the Mountain, inspired by his experiences with religion, class, and exile. In the United States, the civil rights movement was blossoming, and James wanted to participate. During this period, his writing focused on what it meant to be Black in America. James felt that segregation was the biggest source of strife in the country and that racism hurt white society as well as Black. He called for human equality and encouraged brotherhood over violence. At times, he was criticized for his pacifism, but James never had hatred for any people, only for the establishment and institutions that told people what to do. He became well known for articulating arguments in an elegant way that made Black and white audiences listen. He traveled the country giving speeches and lectures, and he debated and befriended some of the biggest leaders of the day. Many of James's essays, poems, and novels are considered masterpieces, including Notes of a Native Son and The Fire Next Time. He wrote openly about his sexuality at a time when no one else did. For all his work and his words, James was watched closely by the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, perhaps because the agency knew the power he had to galvanize the people around him with his sharp and bold messages. Anyway, so in the last video, I was talking about how it doesn't matter what history you give your children. I know right now this is 5th grade, so for my son, it's like he has to learn, I think, from the American Revolution to at some point, I don't know. But anyway, it doesn't matter what, if you are a music person, if you are an art person, if you are building cars, it's like whatever history they give you, it all kind of coincides with each other. But I want to give my son a real take on what Black history is because I think if we don't start to tell those stories or if we pass those stories up, we don't give them a full advantage of who they could be. So anyway, I love this book. I love it. And when I was putting all the books up on underneath the video, I saw that they had like I think they may have Black women in history. They may have inventors. I don't know, but more books like this. So if you look on under the video, it's like an Amazon link and you can find like the books and it'll have like 3 books there. And I think you get all 3 of those books for that price. So I think 3 books for $21, so 7 a piece. Or you can just, again, pick it up at the library because that's what I did. And then I was praying that Kenya Barris hears me because I'm a good writer. I like to travel. Your project about, all the other cultures around the United States, that could be me. That's all I'm saying. It's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I love it. I love it. Me and my son will live amongst the people. Okay. So next we have American Radicals by Holly Jackson. I got this again because, like I said, my son is working on, I'm working on it, just trying to do some history for my son. I also thought maybe I could make some mini lessons because it's not a lot of Black history things out there for children. So, how 19th century protests shaped the nation. by Holly Jackson. I love her. Look at that. Look at that. You see that? Look, tell Erica Badu. Look at that girl. She looks. This girl know her name. You hear me? Peace and blessings manifest with every lesson learned. If your knowledge were your wealth, then it will be well earned. Look at this, Holly. Look at you. Do that for your mom. But I love that. Holly Jackson. Yes, yes, yes. Good job. So anyway, I like that one. So and then we have A Black Women's History of the United States by Daina, Ramey, Barry, and Nicole Gross. So I thought this one would be good too because, you know, I still have my other research that I'm doing that's on the Mammy, the Sapphire, and the Jezebel. Just like all the different stereotypes that people have of us and just like rewriting that history for us or rewriting the new narrative for us now because it's still a lot of criticism and misogyny within us and a lot of racism with us and all this different stuff. So I want to change how we take care of those situations and how we view those situations because it's not necessarily that a Jezebel is actually a Jezebel. She could just be a woman that wants to express herself. It's not necessarily that a older woman has to be always an ancient mama type. A grandmother could want to go out and kick it too. You know, it's not necessarily that a Sapphire has to be a woman always with like some sassy ass attitude that got to give you attitude back. It could be just a way of her protecting herself. So those are the things just like, y'all got black women fucked up. Like, you know, you got us misconstrued. So let me rewrite some shit. So yeah, that's the whole thing. So I started with this article. I wish I could name the article where I started from, the person that wrote about it the first time. And so I started my research from there. And I just love how eloquent it was. And one day I will mention it and one day I will link it. But I kept that article with me for like, I've had that article with me now for like 6 years. And it's just like something you could look up online. Like it's called The Stereotypes of, and it uses Jezebel, Sapphire, and whatever. But that is something that is important to me because girls need to know that. Y'all, I was 28 years old in front of a classroom and I learned how to roll my eyes. I didn't even know how to roll my eyes. And so most people will assume, most women, most men, most black people will be like, bitch, you knew how to roll your eyes. I'm talking about the kids actually had to teach me. I was like, y'all, today they taught me about Catholicism. That's why I'm like, kids are awesome. Like, if you teach them correctly, they will actually teach other people. You may not know they can teach other people. Because I'd be like, when I listen to my son around the corner, I'm like, is that him? You know, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like they actually would teach me stuff. So that was one thing they taught me. They also taught me about taking care of my son. You know, all the stuff y'all teach them, they taught me too. So anyway, they would actually be like, they'll stop in the middle of the lesson and be like, Miss Shuker. And then they'll do this. And they would like, do it like this. And I try to do it. And at first they was like, no, you cannot do. Like, you cannot roll your eyes. Like, I mean, they was like, Miss Shuker, you got to try. I mean, it took like for real 30 minutes for me to get my first eye roll down. Like, just, you know, and I still can't do it. Like, am I really, you know, like, I don't know. See, I'm doing my head too much or something. I feel something about that. But anyway, like I was 28 years old before I knew how to roll my eyes. I had never rolled my eyes before. Now I didn't talk back and got smacked in the lip. That's why I like Black Parade too, because she'd be like, you know, she'll smack you in your lip. But that's the whole thing. Like, yeah, because I talk under my breath. And so I would get popped for doing stuff like that. So it's like I didn't do it no more. Like, it's like, okay, I just won't do it no more. I just say it in my head. But yeah. I just learned how 28 years old when I learned how to roll my fucking eyes. And the kids was just like, you still don't have a clue. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes they misconstrue culture with us. You know, it's like always if you see her do one thing or if you see somebody do something else, then you assume that this person isn't we assume that all of us have the same culture. And like I said, we don't. And I do think it's a manner of disrespect. And I feel like even that needs to have like some kind of symbolism, as well as like how our cultures make a big difference within us, as opposed to always thinking that we have something. And something else I didn't add either was like my whole think about the bloodline or whatever. I added that to that whole Black American contract because I think it's very important for us to know how diseases have genetically mutated. I know we know Dr. CB and everything, CB, but the thing is like we still come from different islands and different cultures and different like things like that. So every product is not going to work with everybody the same way. And so I'm thinking that if we can even get like some kind of Ayurvedic kind of thing that goes down, or like knowing like what Nigerian foods are, because like, do y'all know that like I think some African cultures are not as predisposed to diabetes as others as Black Americans are. So that's something that I think is really important. I don't know, like, how do I get to do this research? But what I want to do is like be able to have Black people go when they go to the doctor, they can get a test to see what their background is. Also, they need to test, they can get a genetic test, because now they have a genetics test to tell you if you predisposed to these different things too. Now we look at the history of like Nigerians or whatever, or we look at the history of Zimbabwe or Ethiopia, and we think about the diseases that they also have in their countries, right? And then it's like if we follow the history of those, or the history of our own health or whatever, how do we end up being the people that have higher heart disease? Or and I know how it is. I mean, I know it's like because we it's too much sodium, it's too much salt, it's so many different things, it's different ways to eat. But just to get back to that point where we are not as predisposed to diabetes, or we are not as predisposed to heart disease, or we are not as predisposed. You see what I'm saying? I'm thinking if we have more education about those things, it'll actually just help us in the long run. I also thought, I know I did a show about this too. I don't know if it got recorded or not. You know, everything goes up and they don't. But I also thought, yeah, we need to also have like a main African American hospital, like, and that's because again, it's like that's something that we don't. I don't know if it is. When I need to look it up too, like to maybe see if it's one. But yeah, it's like we need to have something where it's like focused on our health, you know, like period. I know we're doing the Dr. Sebi stuff, but it's, I mean, Sebi, SEBI. But I'm not, I'm not 100% yet. I'm pretty sure other people not either. They're not 100%. But even if they're not being 100%, at least they still know how to keep themselves healthy. You know, because I don't think it's going to be I think it's the same, but I don't think it's the same, you know, because different cultures have different needs. Like, you know, white people, they already know that they have a high thing for osteoporosis. You know, I just got a vitamin D pill last year because of the sun, because, you know, here we get sad or whatever. Well, it would be nice to know how to treat that differently for Black people. I don't want to actually take a pill. Like, I don't. I would rather like tell me to get like eat 5 bunches of spinach a day or something. I do not want to put a pill in my mouth. So it's like, yeah, it's like I would prefer to know, and then, you know, how to combat our diseases within these different regions too. Like, I think it's just some things that we could just try to learn and research and break down for ourselves too. And it's like, if we get the money to do that, that would be awesome. But yes, the genetic testing and the history testing, I think that your lineage testing is, I think it's important. And once we learn that, then it's like, okay, well, let's look at different diets, let's look at different habits, let's look at different things that we like, because I think that's too, it's just like, it's building like an African American pride, because then it's like now we know more about ourselves than we did before. And that's why I always say, yeah, it's a mental displacement. You know, it's like we really do need to learn more about who we are, because we are not all from the same tribe. Y'all got to remember that too. Sometimes you just don't like a motherfucker because they not from your fucking tribe. You know what I'm saying? Like, that bitch, she just ain't my tribe, you know? So yeah, it's just like, I think we have to start to consider those things too. Like, just who we were and how we are and all those things, and how they mutated till now. And I think it's okay that we mutated. I think it's okay that we changed and we corrected and we have these new lives and stuff. But I think it's even better to understand even more about ourselves. You know, why do I like this aesthetically as opposed to this aesthetically? Why is this not something else? This is, you see what I'm saying? It's like, why do I feel like this is beautiful? Because sometimes we find ourselves doing patterns and putting things together, and then you look back and it's like, oh my God, like that's from a tribe. And you may have never even seen that. You may have never seen that art or that aesthetic before, and it just becomes something natural to you. So I don't know. It's just something about that. Even nose. It's like, I'm so I'm like, why is my nose like this? You know, everybody else, my son, he got like a little Nigerian nose. You know, it's like a little button Nigerian nose. But then he got part of my nose too. So where did my nose, you know, come from or whatever? Um, yeah, it's like I just those things I want. My lips, I love them. But yeah, it's like yeah, you just have to. I think that's something that we have to look at too. So anyway, that's it for today. I just wanted to share my research. I'm sorry it went off. It just went off. Like it just completely fucking went blank. I'm like, what the fuck going on with the computer? Yeah, I hit a button though. That's why. You see what I'm saying? You see how I be acting? Now I'm acting for real this time though. I'm like, what the fuck happened? I already know what happened this time. I did. I hit escape. And I didn't realize. But anyway. Have a good day, Shante. Go to Adobe Max. Adobe Max. Adobe Max. It's fun today. I don't know why. I love it. I love information. I do. Okay, I gotta go. Bye. Bye bye.